Hello. See Colleen Tabo. That's the only person I'm seeing on this live. The other live, I just couldn't get it to function. I had to come back in from the garage. There we go. It's starting to populate. I'm here. I had a better setup out in the garage, but for some reason I couldn't get the live stream to stay working. Anyway, guys, welcome y'all to the live stream. Thank y'all for making it over. I was trying to be out in the garage where I had a better background and everything. No AC running overhead and everything. Yes, it's working. Aliens, cars, and stuff. Or is it Allen's cars and stuff? Sorry. Taking so long to get everything working on the live stream definitely distracted me. Forgot all the topics I was planning to talk about. Get some covering over this window. It'll help quite a bit with the lighting. Come on. It pops right in there. All right. That's not gonna cooperate. All right, I'm no Richard Holdner, so somebody give me a topic to go with here. Thanks for joining us here, by the way. Anybody, can y'all hear the audio? Good deal, good deal. What I've been working on is the old square body crew cab. Got the fuel system basically completely installed now. I've got a bypass or a one tank feeding the other tank, and then the main tank is for the fuel injected. Just kind of like doing an LS swap. It's got an in tank pump, but I had to put a higher pressure pump in there. Unlike the 87s, 87s had a throttle body injection. Don't remember what the fuel pressure would have been on those, but definitely using a fuel pump that was for a vehicle that came with an 8.1, because that's what I'm feeding is an 8.1, not just an LS motor. So that part's put together today, and I'm ready to start setting the cab onto the frame. I have the body mounts using OBS style body mounts. They're about an inch thicker than the square body mounts. So that's automatically going to add an inch of body lift. And then I've used a polyethylene style cutting board and a hole saw to make spacers. Each layer of the cutting board is a ½ inch thick. So depending on how many spacers, I might be adding another ½ inch to a full inch of body lift on that. So yesterday's video was a jack stands and cinder blocks challenge. With that, I'm trying to challenge other YouTubers to stitch my video with theirs, and that way it'll keep kind of kind of get a community of people growing and sharing videos gives them another topic. Clearly, if they're a automotive YouTuber, they're going to have their projects on some sort of jack stands or cinder blocks. Hence the reason for the challenge. And I showed my project in its semi-sketchy state. I've done as much as I can to support that body in any way possible because I have had to go under there. Uh, there was no way to paint the underside of the body without going under it, so that's what I had to do there. Uh, I'm hearing audio sounds great. Thank you. Um, Mandy saying it's frozen again. Others are saying it's working. Were y'all able to find this easily, or y'all just had to keep jumping around on the channel to find the live? I see this camera is very grainy, and it's probably because I have the light going on behind me. Out in the garage, I had lights facing the truck, and then I had overhead lighting. Matthew says it's working. That's good to hear, Matt. Thank you. Um, Mandy says no, she thought it was. Everybody's saying they had to jump over. Okay. Yeah, the original stream, I just couldn't get it to work. It was in your feed when you refreshed. Okay. So, uh, don't know if anybody can go over the old one or whatever. And will the 8.1 stay naturally aspirated? For the time being, yes. Because I'm going to currently, I'm planning to just run it with the. It came out. Everybody who knows, it came out of a UPS truck. So it was unlocked or unleashed, so to speak. They didn't have VATs on it, and from what I hear, several truck drivers in the area here tell me that the UPS trucks tend to be a little bit of a hot rod. Um, Big box truck, and it can scoot pretty good. So, um, and still be. So I think they kind of naturally turned off some of the traction control type stuff. They VATs wasn't included. It only had 202 sensors. They had them the EGR delete from the factory tune. Anything from I want to say it was '03 to '07, they were able to factory delete the uh, EGR valve uh, with the computer, and they did that by not returning hot gasoline from the fuel rail back to the fuel tank. They did an in-tank fuel pressure regulator on those. Thanks, Auto Salvage. Yeah, I see you found me. Um, Basically, had to start a whole new live. The other one just would not function. Couldn't get back into it myself. That was frustrating. Yeah, I know I lost a lot of people that were probably in that other live stream or live chat waiting. So yeah, I've talked a little bit about the fueling system. Matt asked the question is, do I plan to keep the 8.1 naturally aspirated? Most likely for a long time. Um, maybe maybe if I get some other projects finished, I might come back to that one. I know the what's that? LT Tolman. He's got a nice turboed 8.1, but I think he's got quite a bit more budget. You know, he's getting parts sent to him for free. I think he threw on that plastic 3D printed prototype intake. I can't remember the name of the company that does those, but so the only company that works with aftermarket 8.1 stuff. So they sent him that prototype, and he was able to show that. I think he even ran it on the motor for a short period of time. But I don't have that budget. I don't have that kind of backing with YouTube yet. So uh, just trying to get monetized. It could well, see, Auto Salvage is asking the question if it was the tin roof in the shop. I just jumped onto other people's live streams. I think, to be honest, Auto Salvage, it's my first live stream. I just didn't know how to get it up and running, and I jumped back into the other live stream just to send them the message to thank them for helping me get that and this one started, and accidentally closed the wrong live stream when I jumped out. So just learning how to do a live stream. Uh, Ultimately, I think instead of doing the live stream direct into YouTube, I will do the other once I figure out how to set that up. What's the other, the one with the little duck logo? I'm not going to jump into that right now, but uh, really wish I had was still in the shop. I ran back in here just in case it was the internet. Um, and this time when I jumped in, it finally did work. Hey, Bear Rose. Yes, I finally got it figured out, or I actually don't know what I did wrong, but, I did get it working finally, so nice to see you guys jumping in. I don't know how to get back over to tell the other people how to get over to this one, but, uh, here we do have a live going. If I could stop shaking my table there. Hey, Auto Salvage Outlaws. Don't know how to do that. Auto Salvage Outlaws, can you walk me through that? Oh, toggle moderator activity. Yes, Shopcat. I finally got a live stream up and running. The other one only lasted for 2 seconds before it just collapsed on me. Pop-up dashboard. Okay, so it says when you go through live directly on YouTube, you can have anyone else live with you. Okay, well, that's another reason to do the other live streams then in the future. There we go. All right, Auto Salvage, I just made you a moderator, so if you can work your magic there. Where was I? I was talking about the fuel system, that the cab is ready to go back on the frame. I do have the cutting board spacers also for the body mounts. We have naturally with the OBS body mounts, we're going to add a full inch to the body from the frame, and then we have half inch increments from the plastic cutting board material. So and future project, I've got a edger that I'm planning to make into some form of scooter. I was originally going to rob the motor off of it and mount it onto a mini bike frame, and have not been able to find a mini bike. Then I started coming across other YouTube channels where they have one gentleman has the world's fastest trash can, and also he has the like a little red radio flyer red wagon. He's made that into the world's fastest wagon, and that gave me the inspiration. I might just have the world's fastest edger. So we're gonna put a drive wheel on it and figure out some form of steering, probably using the edger handle as the kind of like an ape hanger, and just put a seat over the motor. Yeah, I see some more people coming on over. I guess they're refreshing. Is that what they're doing and finding the live stream off the refresh? Um, A few of you probably heard me talk about it earlier. I've got the Jack Stands and Cinder Blocks challenge. I've thrown down the gauntlet for you other YouTubers. That's another topic for you guys to go on. Um, if you just stitch my video with yours, at least the beginning and the end, stitch yours in there. Show we what is supporting your project vehicles. I know we all have to use jack stands. The guy earlier was talking about he really likes cinder blocks versus jack stands, but um, and Bear Rose was on your live stream yesterday with the you were showing the Volkswagen Beetle body with the I guess it was a Hemi V8, some sort of V8 and a custom chassis you guys had made. So that was quite the project there, I'm sure. Unfinished project. Okay, hang on. Add more mods. All right. Gas powered grocery cart. Like, can I make that pop up on screen? All right. Yes, I have seen the video of the gas powered grocery cart also. Um, so yeah, that's it's an idea project. It's a matter of just finding the right, more or less go kart or drive wheel for a mini bike, and just get the right metal and just get the right metal, bend it around, and make a seat. And you know, might have to steal the I don't even know what to call it, the front to a bicycle or something to have the steering mechanism. Um, but that'll be a part of the project, figuring it all out. Hey guys, a reboot of Junkyard Wars. Uh, well, maybe. uh, we do have plenty of project materials around where I'm working at. So yeah, that might be something to play with as well. Side projects. The next main project I'm looking at is either to get the old Toyota truck over here. It's a is that a 83, 84 Toyota 4x4. It's powered by propane with a little turbo, and it actually starts and runs. It's got bottom end problems. The basically has no compression left. The piston rings are gone. So uh, that's a considerable project. Last time I priced it, the machine work and new pistons and such was going to cost me about $500, but that was a few years ago. I'm pretty sure it'd be closer to $1,000 or more nowadays to get a machine shop to bump that out and freshen it up for pistons and touch up the crank for new bearings. Hi, Buck does it. See, Rich GTR GT350R has been in here for a while. Unfinished Project's been in here for a while. Who else has been here? Auto Salvage Outlaws here. Uh, Colleen was probably the first to find over here. Yeah, and I got my brother and my wife are on here. Auto Salvage Outlaws. Did I say that already? I know Bear Rose Garage. Like I said, I was on his live yesterday. Um, and yes, both of my Toyota trucks have both came from Idaho. Was working at Idaho Falls the first time and American Falls the second time, and that was back in the old Craigslist days before it was was it Facebook? Yeah. So and both of those made the drive all the way from Idaho into Texas. Um, the black truck I bought as a parts truck. It was a running driving vehicle at the time. The previous owner had broke the rear differential. So what I did with that one, it's kind of like the Toyota rear ends are just like the Ford 9-inch. It's a whole unit you take and drop out. And so I took the front diff and swapped it to the rear, and put the rear one back into the front just to keep fluids in it, and managed to drive that through Moab on the trip home from Idaho. So that was part of the fun. I actually did find some of that footage. It was from a really, really old GoPro 1 before they became the Hero series. Uh, and that footage is really rough and really grainy. The audio is pretty much unusable. I did some work where I was actually showed me swapping that front end to the rear end and vice versa. And a lot of the footage, it like I said, the audio is unusable uh, because the camera was in a case, a waterproof case, which covers the microphone. I didn't know at the time. And it was years before I even downloaded that stuff off the SD card. And then um, I just came across it off of an old hard drive the other day, and I it was funny and interesting, and maybe one day I'll get some of that edited with some background music and maybe, overdub me talking about what I was actually working on, or at least what I thought what I can now say what I think I was working on at the time, and so that'll be fun to edit into something later. Again, that's pretty grainy footage anyway, but it'll be fun. Famous Shopcat Industries. Yeah, did I see a comment earlier? Shopcat was talking about is that a Mancoon in his videos? That was from the other live stream over there, guys. So waiting on Shopcat to respond. I see everybody's high fiving each other over there, saying hi to each other. Um, Thanks for coming over, and thanks for finding me. Thanks for being patient with me finally getting a live stream up and running. Uh, Try to adjust here. I know that that window doesn't have a good covering on it right now. And it's got a lot of light bleeding through. I was trying to set up in the shop, and like I said, I was in the live stream earlier in the shop. So I don't think it was more an internet issue. I think it's more of me just not knowing how to get my live stream up and running. Uh, and somebody might need to walk me through that process, or I'm gonna have to watch some videos tomorrow on that. So, and yes, Mandy and Marcus are both here, as well as my brother. So, hi, Marcus. And auto salvage outlaws. Yep. Somebody feed me another topic, guys. I normally don't have a problem coming up with stuff to talk about. I did just talk about the Toyotas that I picked up in Idaho. Gave home to some semi-feral cats. They live in the shop. One of them looks like a little Mancoon, but isn't quite that big. Majestic though. Sorry about that. The AC just kicked back on. It's going to cause a bit of background noise. Um, Mandy tells some stories about some of her cats, and one of them was a Mancoon named Tampon. It was a big white cat, and for Halloween, I think they painted his tail red. Um, and also Cody, my stepson, nearly got kicked out of school for uh, telling his teacher about the name of that camp. Uh, am I camping at No Name Nationals? I do plan to go there, and I probably won't have the budget to book a hotel. Um, Pretty good about setting up a hammock. Just might have to find something to tie one end of it to and then stretch it out between the truck and the hammock. I don't think that truck's going anywhere. The truck's definitely what I plan to tow anything whatever project I do take. Um, the mill truck's going to be definitely a tow vehicle. I don't expect it to be fast, especially with that big, heavy Allison transmission and it just being a crew cab in general, long wheelbase truck. Will the transmission just bolt up or we'll have to modify? What transmission? The transmission that's going into the when we move Briggs and Stratton. Oh, is that the name of the cat's shop cat? And the rest will have to be rehomed. Yeah, he's talking about his cats. Okay. I hadn't got a chance to get over to your channel much, shop cat. I was busy trying to get into the shop today and get a little bit of work done between watching YouTube channels and other live streams. Camping's where it's at. You know, it's um, when I was working in Idaho, I just bought my first motorcycle, and I had to wait until my first R&R and flew home and drove my motorcycle from Houston all the way up to Idaho Falls, Idaho, and did it in 3 days, which would be a tough drive in a car to drive that many hours in 3 days, and I did it on a motorcycle. The last night, I realized I had to get to work the next morning, um, and I didn't know at the time. They were actually prepared to fire me if I didn't show up. If I'd have been 1 minute late, I'd have lost my job. That was my first job in the wind industry. Been a wind turbine gypsy ever since for since 2009, so is that about 14 years? Um, and so yeah, I rode until about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Uh, my first experience with Hoback Junction, and that area of the Grand Tetons National Park, which is the southern region of the. Somebody help me out here. The Grand Tetons are part of the Yellowstone National Park. So just outside the national park is Hoback Junction, and that is a very twisty trail in the mountains. Um, and I survived that at 3 in the morning and sub-freezing temperatures on a motorcycle. Got to the hotel, parked the motorcycle, went in, took a warm shower, and was afraid to go to sleep because I would have had less than an hour to sleep. So I was the first to work to the work truck in the morning. Um, and let's see, that story was sparked by um, and I camped from the side of the motorcycle from Houston all the way there. So each night, I didn't even have a tent. I just had a tarp. I'd park the tires of the bike uh, on the tarp and then stretch it over the motorcycle um, in a kind of a lean-to style fashion. I'd tent stakes on one end, park the tires of the bike on the other end, and just stretch the tarp over the bike, and I would crawl up in there and sleep. And I did the same on the way back from there. I camped. One place I did camp at was a car wash because it was raining, so I pulled the bike up in there and slept in the car wash. The second night, I'd made it to El Paso, Texas, and slept at a rest stop with the same tent setup. So yes, the camping's where it's at. I live in a camper, so it's kind of already roughing it, as far as space goes in the first place. Um, Matthew's asking about a build build off or build off. Bear Rose is asking if I'd be interested in doing a $1,000 ratty build off for the 2024 No Name Nationals. Also for the next year's. Start it in October of this year, and you'll have it until No Name Nationals to build it. Do a trophy there. That sounds interesting. What are you offering up, Bear Rose? Well, Matthew, all of us going to the No Name Nationals is pretty much a budget build, no matter what. I think it's Okay, so they got showers and breakfast there. Bragging rights. Well, it is bragging rights to build anything to get there. Um, One option I'm looking at, there's a Sandrail dune buggy available in town that's a running driving vehicle, which I know is kinda cheating, but it still would need work to be a drag racer. It's not road legal, but it's, it runs and drives. It's got sand paddles on it. I would strongly consider putting weight at the front end, and bring spare clutches, and of course, I would have to put some sort of tires on it, probably try to get something resembling a drag tire on it. Cap the build with a budget at $1,000. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so a $1,000 budget build off. I see what Bear Rose is talking about. That sounds interesting. I'm kind of already on a budget, if you ask my wife. It's uh, anything I could build is going to be that Matthew. That's pretty much a lot of cross promotion going on here with these live streams I've been jumping into. A lot of these guys are all planning to go to the No Name Nationals, or they're all cross promoting each other within these live streams. Okay. Is it correct that they're losing the track that the No Name Nationals are being held at after this year? Is that the way I understand it, guys? I think Bear Rose might know. So maybe a spin-off event of the No Name Nationals. Hey, 6% made it. He is the guy that actually introduced me to the rest of you guys. I saw his stickers in the background on one of his videos, and approached him about trading stickers, and we did that. It took us 2 tries because the mailman delivered us an empty envelope the first time. So he sent me a second sticker, and I did a cross promoting video, even a couple shorts and one long form. I believe the long form, I'd have to check. It's probably got around 50, 60 views. I don't know, maybe more than that. It's been up for a few months now, and 6% was the one that introduced me to the No Name Nationals event, and after I started jumping into more and more videos, finding out who was involved in the No Name Nationals, that's when I discovered the live streams. And the more live streams I got involved in, I started just screenshotting it on my phone, looking up the channels and subscribing to the other channels, and then also trying to cross promote them. And I apologize, you guys. I did not know that if I live stream directly on YouTube, that it limits me to just me being on the screen. So I'll get better set up for the next live stream, guys. And I obviously don't know all the functions and features on the live stream, and probably have less functions and features because I'm just live streaming directly on. Yes, I need to use Streamyard next time. I set up a Streamyard account earlier this evening, uh, but that was one of those urgent, and I just really failed to. Actually, I was on 2 lives on there, uh, and then the original live on YouTube was frozen. So, but then I finally got a live up and running. So, yay! Thanks. Yeah, everybody's saying hi to each other over here. Um, and somebody else feed me another topic. I'm running out of topics. I don't know how. Uh, I do mention I rode the motorcycle through the Grand Tetons, Hoback Junction there, at 3 in the morning, which was very dangerous to do on a motorcycle. I didn't know any better at the time, and I was just trying to get to work. and that's how I stayed in the wind industry. Unfinished project. What engine and transmission are in the mill truck? I just pulled the original Muncie and a small block 350 out of it. It's getting an 8.1 with an Allison 6 speed or 5 speed automatic put in it. I've done the mock up on another frame that's available here at the shop. It's a square body frame. It was a shorter wheelbase because it was a two-door frame. But I set everything up in the frame, uh, did all the wiring enough to make sure it all worked and ran. At the time, I still was lacking the TCU, the transmission controller unit. Um, all this stuff came out of a UPS truck. Got it for goodness, like 2,200 bucks, and spent way too much time going through the original harness, stripping all the extra wiring out of it. What I would recommend is getting an Amazon LS harness and then tag in whatever transmission. They actually are available for 4L80s and other transmission out there except for the Allison. But I still would have been smarter to grab one of those wiring harnesses and then grab the Allison specific wiring out of this harness. And I think it has three wires that talk between the ECU and the TCU, and or it is the LS computers, which is also what the 8.1 uses. The LS computer can actually run and shift the Allison transmission. They do that on the pickups, but not the industrial trucks. Again, this being coming out of a UPS truck, they had separate controller for the transmission and the ECU. So, bear roast. Yes, I shot the canyon on a bike for the first time at night. Yes, we used to ride around the block, as the locals call it. It takes about half a day to get over there, and you spend the rest of the day riding around between Hoback Junction, Swan Valley, and I forget the other name of the city over there on the other corner next to Yellowstone. And you make the triangle either one way or the other, and then you head back where we were going to was Idaho Falls. Uh, Later, I worked in American Falls, and that is the only bridge in North America that I know of where people can base jump legally year round. The bridge over the falls there in American Falls. I think it's roughly 500 feet between the bridge and the river below. That is also where Evil Knievel jumped, attempted to jump the Snake River, uh, and failed. It's kind of a famous spot, and actually, while I was working in Idaho Falls years before I went to American Falls, I I got to meet Fast Eddie, the Fast Eddie that was friends and the crew chief for Evil Knievel. Met him at a bar there. It was 2 blocks down from the hotel. So, as you can imagine, I spent a good bit of time over there at that brewery. And years later, I went to visit a friend that was working the same site there, doing the blade repairs. And just so happened we went there on the last weekend they were open. So we walked out of that, I believe it was Brownstone Brewery. We walked out of there with our jacket sleeves filled with Brownstone Brewery glasses. And they pretended not to notice. We'll just say that. They pretended not to notice us carrying very heavy jackets out of the bar that evening. Oh, it's unfinished. Got to jump out for a bit. Oh, it's dinner time. Yes, it's going to be dinner time here too. I'll probably think about grilling something out there on the pellet grill tonight, or just maybe do tacos on the stove. Twin Falls. Yes, his ramp is still there. It's kind of cordoned off. I do know that several other YouTubers, we'll just say they're probably on a Motor Trend TV channel as well. They have filmed trying to get a Mopar to the top of the ramp. Uh, so I'm sure they got special permission to go out there on it. Mater's Workshop. Hey, I'm glad you were able to make it over here. It took me a while to to get the live stream up and running, so I know I lost a lot of you guys. And Mandy's acting kind of as a moderator, saying hi to everybody as well. And I work for Pins by Mandy, uh, or made by Pins by Mandy, and that's my wife. She advertises her pins on her Facebook, Pins by Mandy. Um, she sells them every weekend. That's available to have the gun shows there in the Houston area. Sometimes they travel as far as Dallas, Fort Worth, and Mandy, you want to put a link to your Pins by Mandy since I'm talking about your pins, so that people can go over there and view some of your pins on your thing there. Big Ed Buckley bought the rights to that jump, and supposedly he's going to do what Evil Knievel couldn't do sometime. Mater's in Dallas. Did not know that, Mater. Hey, everybody, tell us where you're working from. I know Bear Rose is over in Idaho. That's where I keep jumping back to some of those topics, going down memory lane. Uh, I'd have to say my favorite site that I ever worked at was the second site I worked at, and it was the Twin American Falls. No, Twin Falls, Idaho. Sorry, the first site. Twin First site I worked in Idaho. Uh, Twin Falls, and worked there for several months before having a winter off, and then uh, been in the wind industry ever since. I work on the composite blades. So if you guys ever have any composite repair questions, I probably have forgotten more about composite fiberglass repairs than most people will ever have done. Uh, Literally have done thousands of fiberglass composite repairs, and now I train new blade techs here at a laydown yard. Uh, Currently, I guess I'm an acting manager. Sorry, moving the computer. My feet were getting crossed up in the table legs. Yes, 6% recycled. Yeah, he does. He's in Michigan. Mater's is in Enos, Texas. Very familiar with there. I drive through it every time I have to drive from Houston area to anywhere in the wind industry because I have to go through the Dallas region, and I despise Dallas. People there do not know how to drive. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact. Um, the only worst place I've ever driven, and I drove through there on a motorcycle coming from. Uh, Actually, it's coming from the uh, back from the Idaho. I made a pass through the Grand Canyon on the motorcycle. Spent an extra day riding that region on the motorcycle. Got some great pictures, and immediately after I got back home, I was copying and pasting the pictures from the SD cards to the computer, and I made the mistake of cutting and pasting on about 220 of them and lost every bit of them. Never to be seen again because when they come off an SD card, there is no recovering those, at least not back in the day. Let's see. Uh, Mater says H-Town is his hometown as well. Well, I'm actually was born in Georgetown, Texas, and was raised in between Humble and Conroe, Texas. In my majority of my childhood, we spent either swimming in creeks, lakes, ponds, or fishing off of the Trinity River or the San Jacinto River. So I'm very familiar with the San Jack and as well as the Trinity River. Uh, and Matthew could testify to some of that. Okay, I can make Mandy a moderator so she can post the link. Thanks, Mater, for pointing that out to us. They're cutting a road through Wolverine Canyon to Alpine. I'm gonna have to look that up. Oh, so they could put more windmills in. I know, that stinks. Pocatello, I've worked in that area. And the Sand Jack loves to flood. Every 3 to 5 years, we have a 500-year flood. Every hurricane season, pretty much. Every rough hurricane season. So they run semis in the background nonstop up and down your street. So, Bear Rose, are you near Pocatello? Is that what you're or which area are you at there? Alpine or it's the Casey show today? Yes, thank you, Mandy. Yeah, we've been live streaming for about 45 minutes. That's good. Um, trying to get the view hours up, as everybody here is familiar with. Um, it's it's been a bear. It's been a long time coming. I mentioned earlier the original footage I shot was absolutely. He's in Firth, just south of IF. Okay, I'll look that up later, Bear Rose. But yes, shot footage. I've always shot footage on the road. I shot footage in a hotel parking lot in Idaho Falls. No, I take that back. It was the American Falls, the black truck I bought, and that was when I'd become an aspiring YouTuber and bought the GoPro One. Like I said, I found that footage recently, and I do want to make that into some sort of video to post. I know it's not going to be the greatest video, but it's kind of the history of the channel. Did shoot some footage in Moab. I slapped that GoPro on a magnet mount and on the hood, and because it was only two-wheel drive at the time, because I had bought it with the rear end broke and swapped the front and rear diffs, put the front one in the rear, and was driving in two-wheel drive mode only. And I took it down. It was some of the tamer trails, and I got lost on the trails and wound up on the four-wheeler trails, the quad ATV trails, and that truck now has more airtime than a lot of aircraft that I worked on in the aviation industry when I was in the Army. That truck had quite a bit of airtime going through the whoops, and at one point I realized I could not slow down. If I did, I would have gotten stuck with no ATVs even around to rescue that Toyota pickup. Uh, and even the bag that was in the back of the truck got some airtime outside of the bed of the truck while I was filming some of that footage. I think I probably need to find the pictures I took that weekend as well and stitch them into the video. Yes, I have a Victory Kingpin that stitched them into the video. Yes, I have a Victory Kingpin. That was the bike I talk about having rode it from Houston all the way to Idaho, rode it round the block several times during that fall. And then when it got too much snow on the ground to ride on a regular basis, I took my R&R and rode it back home, uh, wearing a full, like a snowmobile suit the day I left. And then when I got far enough south where it was warm, I rolled that stuff up and stuck it in a duffel bag. And that was before I even had saddlebags on the bike. And oh, the saddlebags on that bike are handmade fiberglass bags. Or they were. I ordered some stretched bags for a Harley, uh, and then modified them to fit the, the Victory. Taking the Harley bags sit on a kind of a hoop shaped rail or chrome plated tube. And my bike didn't need that. I bought the Victory mount, saddlebag mounts, and they just drill a hole through the bag and mount to the bracket. And and made the bags to where they were just full rectangular slab all the way down, inside and outside the back. And then the belt drive on my bike was on the opposite side of the Harley's chain drive. And so I made a notch in the bag for the belt drive swing arm to be a little snugger to the bag. And still have the bike. It's sitting in a Connex at my parents' property, and needs nothing more than registration and a battery, and a tail light, license plate light bulb. Uh, and that will be back on the road. And Marcus is now old enough to ride with me if he wants to. Marcus, you still on there? Mandy, can you tell me? I haven't seen any comments out of Marcus. I have not rode the Twisted Sisters. Where's that at? Mater, you're in the Dallas, Houston. I know you were from Houston, and you're in Dallas now. Where's the Three Twisted Sisters? Yes, the 4x4 trails are no joke in Moab, and that was the purpose of getting the Toyota trucks. And if any of you guys are interested, the oldest videos that I still have on the channel um, are the Toyota truck and a Kohler four-cylinder flathead generator that I got running and probably need to find and get running again. Um, it probably needs some carburetor work and a fuel pump rebuild again. Um, in fact, I just took those first 3 videos of the Kohler generator and spliced them together with some nice editing and made it into one video. Marcus can't hear me. Okay. Hill Country. Oh, so it's in the Hill Country part of Texas. I have not ridden that. Haven't done much riding in Texas other than between Abilene and Sweetwater area. Instead of riding the interstate, we used to take the back roads in between all the wind turbines. Um, and I do that on a pretty regular basis when I lived in the Abilene region. Um, and then for a short period of time, I was living over by Lake Fort Phantom um, with Mandy and Cody. And Mandy always managed to show up outside every time I was coming home on that motorcycle, even though sometimes I would top the hill, cut the engine off, and coast with no engine running all the way back to the place we were staying at, trying to sneak up on her, and it never could sneak up on her. And we could probably thank Marcus for that. His daddy radar was excellent. Another story about the old Toyota truck. When we were living out there by Lake Fort Phantom, the truck now has like 35-inch tires on it with the little 4-cylinder motor driving it. I used to top the hill over there in that truck, and there was a state trooper that liked to hide just over the backside of that hill, like by Fort Phantom, and he'd sit there and write people tickets. Of course, that's what state troopers like to do. And I'd come over the top of that hill in the Toyota truck and immediately see him and let off the gas and realize I was doing about 5 or 10 under the speed limit because that truck couldn't break the speed limit if he tried before I put the propane and turbo system on it. It ran significantly better on the propane than with the gasoline. Um, and I really fell in love with running the truck off of propane. Uh, and then after I added the turbo, that was an eye opener. Turbo with the propane, all I had to do is add the crossover vent tube between the mixer and the regulator, and that self tunes. The more boost you add, it naturally adds that boost into the mixer, feeding more fuel pressure into the propane from the mixer to the regulator. And it's amazing how easy that is. If you're ever running anything that's not fuel injected and you want to add a turbo, I highly recommend swapping to propane first. And propane is a naturally 115 octane, which is what you need. It helps with when you're adding the turbo, and that made it a lot more fun too. Um, like I said, it's just that short block in the truck right now. It needs pistons and rings and obviously bearings, so it's going to need some machine work and fresh stuff in the bottom end. Hey, I see Marcus has jumped into the chat. And Mater, yes, it's in Hill Country, and you said it's between Fredericksburg and Lukenbach. Yes, that's the Hill Country of Texas. Also considered wine country of Texas, if I'm correct, right, guys? See, Vanessa Williams has jumped on. Hi. Um, so yes, that'd be a great place if we want to start going back on the motorcycle again. Uh, Mandy Marcus, we'll have a discussion about that later. I think we'd need one more bike. So only one person's having to ride two up, and then the other person can ride their own bike. Mandy complains that the backrest on the back of my bike is way too small for her to be comfortable when I accelerate on that bike. And yes, that Victory Kingpin is ridiculously fast at accelerating for a V twin. Um, I have some other stories about that. Um, one of the times I was riding in the Abilene area because I was living there at the time. Uh, Technically living there, I was staying in a camper there too, because I'm a wind turbine gypsy. Um, so, in fact, my previous camper was known as the Gypsy Wagon. So this is the Gypsy Wagon 2. The other one actually earned the nickname quite significantly. It was a rundown 1977 Coachman, 35-foot fifth wheel camper. I went to fifth wheels because I found out the older ones, once they get past a certain age, just get ridiculously cheap, even cheaper than bumper pull campers. And yes, Cody has a motorcycle. You think he's going to let you borrow it? All right. Maybe once we get caught up on some other bills and pay off the truck, we might look into buying another motorcycle. But yeah, the Victory Kingpin, it's over 1700 cc or 100-inch motor. Um, and I used to drag race Hayabusas and smoke some of them, especially if I caught them. Either that or on the roll-ons coming from like 30, 40 miles an hour, depending on what gear they wanted to start in. Um, they were like, "What the hell is this V twin keeping up with me for? It's impossible." Uh, and I would was bumper to bumper or fender to fender with them all the way up to the point where I discovered that the bike has a governor at about 127 miles an hour, and the ignition cuts every other cylinder until it slows down. Yes, we're not drag racing on the bike anymore, Mandy. Oh, you don't think he's going to let you borrow it? Hey, Colleen's back. And so, what do we? How many do we have in the chat? It looks like, oh, we got about 10 on here. Okay, um, it's good that you're back. And let's. Oh, so yeah, about the No Name Nationals. It looks like I'll probably just be camping out there, and looks like a bit of an olive leaf, or what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Hospitality. It may have been extended about camping and showers and stuff there at the No Name Nationals. Um, and even at that, when I finish the yellow truck up, I'm an engine swap away on getting the Toyota truck back on the road. And what I'm thinking I would do there is probably put some smaller tires on. For the drag racing, because it's got the large 35s on it right now. But it is propane and turbo. If I can get that legally onto the track with the propane tank, it does have a uh, commercially made propane tank mount in the bed, um, and with some large washers and stuff underneath backing it up. So think if we can get that onto the track, would be a fun thing to drag race the four-wheel drive Toyota. Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans. Hi, I'm Damon. Calling this your mom. Okay, hey. Spectators have the same rights, just no racing. Well, I've paid the entry fee as a racer. Uh, Either way, I see value in going. And even if I just make one pass on the track with the yellow truck, it we find out how fast or slow it is. Okay, so uh, what's everybody planning on bringing to the No Name Nationals? I know 6% was in here earlier, and I believe he's bringing the Jambler. The hmm, I just kicked the cord loose on the laptop. Get that plugged back in. All right, Maters. Mater's is going to watch. At Mater, how far is that from Dallas to the No Name Nationals? I know it's on the what the southeastern corner of Arkansas. Am I correct, or north of Arkansas in Missouri? Am I correct? Missouri. Chambler is the one way, or the other is going to the No Name Nationals. Oh, I said it wrong. It's the Chambler. All right, guys, we've just topped an hour, and I'm gonna let you guys go and get off of here this stream, and I'm gonna go cook dinner. It's dinner time. Thank you all for joining, and let you guys keep chatting if you got some more topics here. But I'm gonna try to wind it down here a little bit. Uh, Colleen's bringing the 318 5-speed 87 Ram. That was another option here at the shop. We've got a truck that the engine runs. He has some sort of m- it's a Mopar truck. It's a Ram 1500. It was the SRT version and supposedly had the a V8 and sport 5 or 6 speed transmission. And the sensor inside the transmission that tells the ECU what gear you're in is broken. The guy actually has a spare transmission that he's thinking about swapping into it. And the thoughts there is if I do the swap for him, he was going to let me borrow the truck for the No Name Nationals. So, and I think he was even going to help with paint and such. And don't know what we're going to do for tires, but the tires on it do hold air, but it's on one of the tires is a spare. Ram 50 originally came with a 4-cylinder. Oh wow! So you've got a 318 stuffed in the 87 Ram four. That was this a kind of a mini truck or a full size Ram? Mater saying it's 596 miles for him. It's 10 hours. Yeah, I looked it up. It's about 10 or 12. It's well over 10. I think 12 or more from where I'm at in Garden City, Kansas. So so we're looking at a chunk of fuel just to get there, especially if I'm driving the uh the 8-1 there and back. The mill truck's getting the 8-1 in it. Again, that's being put in there specifically to be a tow vehicle. Uh, but I'm sure it'll sport things up better than the old small block. Okay, so it is a mini that came with a 4-cylinder and you jammed a 318 in it. Rust is hot. Well, I do a lot of rust removal uh, in, on, or around related to the channel. Um, but yes, I do leave a little patina where I can on sometimes on the paint jobs. I did look at a truck here recently. It was unfortunately another square body, 2-door. Uh, I fell in love with its perfect patina. It was not. It was probably a rolling chassis, so to speak. And I was thinking I would just freshen up the bottom end on the engine that just came out of the mill truck, and put some decent aluminum heads on it because I already have the cam, intake, exhaust, and carburetor that I would would want it to run in. It just did not cooperate with the emissions heads, um, and it would drink about a quart of oil per tank of gas, and it was only getting about 3.5 miles to the gallon towing this camper. And so 3.5 miles to the gallon towing a camper with a small block Chevy just was ridiculous. And then still having to put a quart of oil per tank of gas. As you can imagine, at 3.5 miles to the gallon, that tank of gas wasn't lasting long either. So I never found a real leak on that motor after I put new valve covers and intake and stuff on it, until I pulled the motor out and it wasn't leaking at the valve cover. It was leaking at the distributor, but I don't think it was leaking a full quart per tank of gas. I think it was burning most of that going through the tailpipe. Uh, mainly rings and valves. Valve guides worn out probably. Um, the mill truck originally was owned by the railroad over in Nebraska region, and I got it from picked it up over in Milligan, Nebraska, from the mill, from the man that owned the mill in Milligan, Nebraska. Um, so he was the second owner, and now I'm the third owner of that truck, and it's a 1986, and I wouldn't say it's in minty condition at all. I have gone through and put new brakes all the way around. Uh, like I said, I did all the engine work on the small block, only to discover it was just drinking oil and swallowing gas by the gallons. Um, looking for a '78 Challenger. Yeah, I would be looking for one of those too. Not a huge Mopar nut. Not against them. I love all things motorized. Uh, I, like I said, a good majority of my views on the channel date back to the old 22R Toyota trucks. So why paint? You know what? Wasn't my truck. He was offering to paint the truck because it's his truck. I think he was going to immediately sell it after I got back from the No Name Nationals with it if I was to borrow it from him. That's how much of a budget I'm on, guys. I'm looking at borrowing a truck from somebody else, doing the work on it, and then giving it back to him if I don't break it. And I think he was probably going to go with me if I borrowed his truck. I definitely was going to borrow his trailer to trailer it in there and back. Stuff it, it'll fall in. Well, I'm shoehorning an 8.1 into this truck. These trucks were factory optioned with big blocks, but the 8.1 has a much taller intake manifold, which I still don't see a problem with under the hood. I've seen several other the square bodies get the 8.1s. The biggest thing I'm really shoehorning in is the Allison transmission. It's about 10 inches to 12 inches longer than the factory transmission that was in my body. And so either way, I've already cut the transmission tunnel to make room to get everything to sit over the transmission. And either I'll stitch some extra metal in there. And recently, Square Body Eric, the guy that also has the Ram truck, and I get a lot of my square body parts from. He's actually been on a couple of videos, cameos there, Square Body Eric, and that's where he gets the nickname. Um, he uh, he bought a running, somewhat running, driving a 8.1 powered truck that had an Allison in it. The Allison 1000 and 2000 series transmissions share the same case. The Allison has better guts, probably more planetaries in it. If anybody here is a transmission person, I know there's definitely some transmission people in the No Name National community. But the Allison 1000s and 2000s, like I said, they share the same case, so the physical size of the transmission is the same. Anyway, his truck was bought as a parts truck to steal the 8.1 and Allison out of it, and we've cut up the body and removed the floorboards from the frame. And I do have that floorboard if I need to possibly make it look a little bit more factory and steal parts from that floorboard and weld it into my floorboard. That is an option. Also, I'm still working up the to that point. I've made a shifter to emulate the throw of a manual transmission shifter and still activate the shift linkage or shift cable for my automatic. The first one, I guess 2.0, is actually the one that actually got built. It got put together. It does function. It's just the packaging of the shifter, and it's actually there's 3 videos on it in this channel. The packaging of that shifter is just a little too big to fit between the transmission and the floorboard, or even above the floorboard under the shift boot. So I've come about and I did a send cut send. I designed it and made it much more compact. Overall, it's just a bit bigger than a cell phone. Uh, and that's going to be my shifter mechanism, and it should fit inside the shift boot. Although it's kind of a work of art, and kind of a steampunk fashion, so I might opt to just stick it on the floorboard, welding its own bracket to it, and bolt it to the floorboard over the hole where the manual transmission would have been. And so that there's more videos coming on that one. Working on building several of the 22R engines. I have one that's the 20R head with a 22R block under it. The 20R heads supposedly respond better to modifications than the 22R heads. Now, there's aftermarket heads or repro heads that actually did pretty good. The earlier smog emission 22R heads were garbage. So the 20R heads had both round intake and exhaust ports, and the 22R heads have a rectangular intake port. They both take the same exhausts. Um, yeah, I know one or two things about Toyotas. Sorry, uh, but the got a good short block by any chance, Mater? Or are you a machine shop? um, maybe we could do a. I've got an extra a whole short block sitting in a Connex that could easily be taken out and hauled somewhere, and it needs to go to a machine shop soon, especially with the lead times on machine shops lately. My but front suspension would have to get out and handle extra weight. Oh, shoehorning that 318 in it. Yeah, you probably have to do some suspension work. Um, oh, we dropped down to 9. Yeah, what else you guys want to talk about? We talked about Toyotas and some other pretty much any project I could think of right now off the top of my head. Some of y'all may have missed. I talked about earlier in the stream. Uh, Thinking about doing a scooter made out of a yard edger. I found one here recently on the side of the road and had a little paper tag on it, said free. It was sitting in somebody's driveway. 2,000 views on the F100. Shopcat. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Toyota video probably has 24,000 views, and it's a decade old video. And of course, I've done some newer videos walking around the Toyota collection there on the property. I've got the round headlight Hilux 4x4, the first year rectangular headlight, as well as and we're about to lose Mandy. Her phone's dying. Um, and then the '86 4Runners out here on the property, or on the property back home where Mandy and Marcus are at. Again, I'm kind of a gypsy. I work on the road, and so almost all my footage, has been shot on the road, with the exception of the little bit of stuff that I shot in my own driveway. Um, so, hey, Matt, are you still here? Hadn't seen Matt in a while. Well, thank you, Mandy, for coming. And yep. Thanks, Mandy, for coming. I don't think she's still on here, but she said her phone's dying. Uh, you worked in a shop years ago that did just Japanese engines. So yeah, you're familiar with the old 22Rs. Um, Marcus is saying bye too. All right, bye, Marcus. So that 200,000 views on just the F100 video. My I just got a notification the other day. Made it to 250,000 views total. And it's at 250 and some 256 or something last I looked. Uh, when I actually read the notification, I went and looked at my channel, and it's 200,000, 250,000, and some medium change there below it. So dropping a short tonight. Yeah, I need to drop some more shorts, but I just got sick of getting a lot of subscribers that didn't follow up and watch the videos, or follow up and watch other videos on the channel. I encourage them to. I try to always add that into, if I do a little bit of editing into my shorts. Do use my phone to cut my shorts, and I actually have an app on there. I do a little bit of editing, and I'm still learning that app. It has extra features that I'll probably never use. But uh, as far as editing goes on the computer and long form content, uh, I was doing a lot of editing on the laptop I'm on right now, and I use Olive and OpenShot. Um, OpenShot's pretty simple, easy, kind of cut and splice. You can do a little bit of audio, and yeah, I use the InShot. A little bit of audio tuning, but not much. Uh, and the more I use Olive and get better at editing in Olive, it's actually got a lot more features and lot finer detail as far as editing the audio. In fact, that's where I got good at editing the background music at a soft enough tone where I'm not. It's not over me too much. I couldn't do that in the other editing software. And then I've eventually built a more or less a budget gaming desktop to do editing on. Sometimes I'll even, if I have to go on the road somewhere else, I'll take it and put it in the hotel room and work on editing footage in there. Um, it's just needs an it did an update, and the video editing software is not currently functioning, and for some reason I've lost access to the internet on the desktop, and it's Ethernet only, and I thought it was my router adapter. Bought a new one because I'm using Starlink here now for internet, and the Starlink it's Wi-Fi, and I had to buy a little adapter that adds the Ethernet connector to it. I thought it was that part, bought a new one. It doesn't work still. So I'm thinking I will have to use my phone as a hotspot connected to it. Again, because that computer does not have Wi-Fi on it. So what I've done is, in the past, to get on the internet with that computer, is I use my phone connected to it with a cable, and it will use it as a hotspot. And then that way I'll be able to download whatever adapter drivers or updates it needs to get back on the internet for that desktop. So, do you like all of the delicious treat? I use all of the video editing software. Both these machines are run primarily as Linux machines. The desktop is purely Linux machine. This I use as a Linux machine 90% of the time. In fact, the last time I booted into Windows, I discovered I hadn't been in Windows in a year and 2 months on this computer. Um, I use Windows at work. I'm not a fan of giving money to Microsoft or giving them access to know what we do on the internet. So find that Linux is a little bit more private. You can set the settings a lot better. And it's just a much more stable operating system. And then also the video editing software in Linux is free and very robust programs. The first one I learned pretty quickly, and then, like I said, the more I use Olive, the better I get at editing and doing better details in the editing. Uh, Switching to DaVinci Resolve as soon as you grow out of OpenShot. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of growing out of OpenShot. I'm finding that too. The one thing I still like on OpenShot is I'm pretty good at adding the titles and text in there. And one in particular I liked did on a couple of videos, and they need to bring it back. As I put a JSCB in a little square in the corner of the kind of like a watermark in the screen. And I thought that was great, and I need to find a way to take that and be able to bring that into Olive, uh, or maybe find a way of creating a watermark from that. Um, and I think I know how to. I'll just have to make a JPG or a picture image, and then use that because I just figured out how to do picture in picture in Olive. Even though I haven't done it yet, I've just figured out how to do it. 13B was a big pain in the behind to start rebuilding. Oh, after rebuilding it, they didn't wanna start, huh? Timing gear sets in the 22Rs. Yeah, the timing gear, the cover, uh, where it attaches the one bolt that comes right below the timing chain into the cover, into that timing cover. It's if you use the wrong bolt, you always bust that cover out. And ask me how I know, 'cause I think every 22R I've had the timing cover off of, I've busted the cover, even though made sure I kept that bolt set aside. The new cover, the threading inside there, wasn't as deep, and I didn't check for it. I just went to go cranking it down. I thought it was there, and the bolt was too long by about a thread and a half. You know, a washer could have fixed that, an additional washer. So, yes, the 250,000 total views is awesome. And yes, I just graduated to 630 subscribers today. Thanks to you guys and me jumping on the live streams and chatting up with everybody and, just making more YouTube friends, you know, and it's part of a community now. So, I'm feeling more a part of a community, and it's all thanks to 6% bringing me into introducing me to the No Name Nationals group. If I hadn't have, you know, confronted him about trading stickers, if I was in my shop, I'd actually show off that stickers on my welding cart. And if some of y'all haven't seen, these are my original stickers, and that's what. There we go. That's one I sent to 6% back in the day, and I'll jump up real quick. I made a video about it the other day, but in case you haven't seen the video, I'll go grab what I'm having printed into stickers next. And that's going to be my next stickers. I'm leaving the artist's logo there. I've added my own logo there and a QR code, so when I hand out stickers to people, they can QR code their way to my channel. That was something I realized was an immediate mistake as soon as I got especially being a new channel. I'm not famous. Nobody knows me. I have been recognized once. Um, the kid that works at the local O'Reilly's Auto Parts. I introduced myself to him when I first started working on the truck and told him about the channel. And I think I gave him told him the quickest way to get to the channel was 22R propane turbo. You Google that or search that on YouTube. It will pull up my channel because of the age of that video, and it's a very searchable name. Um, but anyway, yes, see, I went in about a year later because I'd worked out of town somewhere else over in Nebraska for a while. Come back here and started talking about something, and he goes, "I've been watching your channel." And so it was neat to be recognized, even though it was somebody I'd already introduced myself to once. And then recently, Mandy was telling me about one of Marcus's friends was asking, "You don't talk about your dad much." Well, my dad works out of town, and says, "What? He has a YouTube channel." And the kid says, "Does he have a yellow truck?" So it's coming along. 6%. Da Vinci emails. Yes. So yeah, I mean, it's been neat getting to know more YouTubers that are in this same boat with me, trying to build up the channel because the famous guys don't have a lot of time to talk, I guess. Uh, well, it looks like we've been on for an hour, almost an hour and a half. And it is getting to be dinner time. I'm going to let you guys go. If y'all have some other live streams to go chat into, y'all can go ahead and go do that. And I'm going to let you guys go and end this stream. And thank y'all for coming. Anybody have any final last words on the chat there? I'm gonna stick around for a little bit longer on that, and then we'll cut things off. What time is you've got a live tomorrow evening, right? 6%. Thanks, everybody.